This video is brought to you with censorship because YouTube. The pickup art or seduction community came to prominence in the early 2000s. It was based around the idea that attractiveness to women could be learned and then demonstrated, that a man could make himself more attractive to women through displaying specific behavioral traits. It was focused around behavioral determinism, that your behavior determines outcomes in your life. Each one of you has a different story, but you all share one thing in common. You need my help, but all I can do is provide the tools you need. It will be up to you to take these tools and make something from them. When you enter into a set, do you notice my walking away? I didn't come in like this, facing you directly, because I'm telegraphing too much interest to you. The idea is to not creep them out. We'll be watching your every move on hidden camera from this surveillance truck. Inside, you'll find that every corner of the club has been wired with hidden remote-controlled cameras that will follow your every move. That was good-looking master pickup artist Mystery, teaching men how to act more attractive. Originally, pickup art had some underlying and useful tenets that all men should explore briefly, with the full knowledge that behavior is a small part of what attracts women. None of that now, young lady. What's the magic word?
Pretty, please.
I hate you. Get your ass over
No,
here.
really.
You're lovely. Some of these tenets include demonstrating high value by not being needy, beggy, or supplicating, by indicating that the woman you've approached isn't the only one you're focused on or has your undivided attention, by you acting aloof and not showing too much more interest in her than she does in you, by being clear that you won't put up with disrespect and being undervalued, and other tenets. A huge problem is, back when pickup art rose to fame, women didn't have better dating options at their fingertips on smartphones, and many didn't sit at computers to use old-school dating websites like Plenty of Fish. Even back in 2006, when the Pickup Artist TV show aired, the better-looking students were the most successful in attracting women. Note, as a result of smartphones and dating apps, more and more women don't go to nightclubs to meet new men anymore, unless said men are extremely hot. Any power that confidence and game afforded men has been obliterated by technology. Technology has given women the power to access high and filter low market value men out like never before in human history. Woman blogs about 30 Tinder dates in 30 days. Pickup artists, or PUAs for short, came up with the term AMOG, alpha male of the group, or alpha male other guy. This refers to when you're in a set or group with women and another guy is there and you're locked in a contest of dominance, masculinity, attraction, attention, and alphaness against him. When he has the upper hand in this contest with you, subconsciously or otherwise, he is said to be AMOGing you, essentially out-alphaing you, demonstrating higher value to the women than you are. The involuntary celibacy and black pill communities took this concept of AMOGing further and applied real-world logic to it. If a man's display of learned alpha behavior that can't be passed on to offspring matters an attraction, then inborn physical traits that can be passed on must matter more. If a man is taller than you, he height mogs you. If he has the better, more masculine jawline of the group, he jaw mogs you. The expanded concept of the mog was born. To be mogged is to be bettered by a person of the group, tribe, or society. The jaw is important in the attractiveness of both genders, but whereas women with a weak or underdeveloped jaw retain their femininity and to an extent their attractiveness, For men, a weak jaw usually spells weak masculinity and low attractiveness. Jessica Alba, who is seen as hot by millions of men around the world, would agree with me if she had the wherewithal to be blackpilled. Here are FACEandLMS's 7 components to an attractive male jaw. Brutal. 1. The length, straightness, and visibility of the mandible. Note: the glabella is the middle of the brow ridge, and the nasion is where the glabella meets the top of the nose. The mandible's length is determined by and is a display of its forward growth and development. The mandible should be bookended by the gonion on one side, and it, combined with the chin, slightly overshooting or at least lining up somewhere level with the glabella ideally. At the very least, it should overshoot the nasion slightly. Anything less can be considered weak or recessed. Lower jaws that can be described as weak or recessed will often have a lot of downward growth as opposed to forward growth. A lower jaw that is weak or recessed is often coupled with other traits that are weak or recessed, such as weak or low cheekbones or a recessed maxilla. It's as if what caused the mandible to grow non-optimally didn't affect the mandible in isolation, but the whole face. The right shows good forward growth of the lower jaw. Forward growth of the mandible adds to the face's angularity, which highlights the lower face's leanness. The jawline's visibility is important. Forward growth of the lower jaw will help its visibility. A recessed mandible can be described as weak, childlike, underdeveloped. The left mandible is visibly non-straight, which lessens its impact and aesthetic appeal. A good mandible is straight. 2. The gonial angle. This is how close to a 90-degree angle the intersection of the mandible and ramus is. A good gonial angle starts from around 100 degrees, such as Lachowski's on the left, to around 120 degrees, such as that of the man in the middle. The man on the right has a bad gonial angle at around 135 degrees. The gonial angle is important as it determines how parallel to the floor or x-axis your mandible is. Obviously, your jaw shouldn't be perfectly parallel to the floor, but it should be somewhat close. 3. Gonian position. This is the vertical position of the gonian. This is what differentiates the middle guy's jaw from the right guy's the most. Notice how the man on the right's gonian is really high set, which is bad, and results in 2 more flaws. 1. Less ramus length, and 2. Less jaw body, as I call it. Jaw length is good, but not at the cost of a good gonian position and good gonial angle. Here is my quick and dirty attempt at lowering the right man's gonian position. The effect is a longer ramus like the middle man's. The forward growth of this man's facial lower third and his mid-face still bugged me though, so I played around with improving his looks further. Look how confident he looks now. 4. Ramus length, uprightness, and visibility. The ramus is the near vertical piece of bone under the ear, almost parallel to the face. You can't see it in this young man or in this woman, but notice how the woman's lack of ramus, and jawline entirely in fact, still looks average, feminine, and not underdeveloped. Whereas the young man's ramus looks underdeveloped and unmasculine, even though it's slightly more visible than hers. Although I don't think there is an absolute attractive length for a ramus, in my opinion, it should start somewhere level with the nasal base of the nose. It should reach down near on vertically to past the mouth. I find that this is correlated with a wide, well-developed lower jaw. Ramus visibility complements mandible visibility to contribute to the angularity and to the striking and aesthetic effect of the jawline. The young man on the right is roughly around the same age as the Untermensch on the left, but the Übermensch's Ramus is more developed and more masculine. The Ramus should be fairly vertically straight. Your Ramus should continue its near straight trajectory until past the mouth, where it meets the gonian, like the man on the right. This results in a wider lower jaw, more balanced facial thirds, and more jaw body. The left guy's Ramus doesn't have a straight trajectory to past the mouth. The middle guy's gonian is above his mouth. He virtually has no Ramus. Again, the gonian should be low set, ideally below the mouth. This doesn't apply much to women who don't need angular jaws to be attractive.
MGTOW Dictionary is a mobile app for men that contains a main dictionary plus 5 additional separate sections of knowledge, a pharmacy with MGTOW, red pill, and black pill perspectives, accompanied by music and movie reviews.
Women don't have the self-awareness to understand that their high market value and the emphasis they put on looks are changing dating and society forever. 5. Chin projection, width and height. Chin projection also is important for the aesthetics of a good masculine jaw. This man has a receding chin and recessed mandible. Instead of having forward protrusion, his chin is actually retreating like an overpowered army back towards the safety of his neck. It is receding. His rounded, short, recessed mandible doesn't have enough forward growth or length to afford his chin forward prominence. If I give his mandible forward growth, his chin still lacks forward protrusion. I have given his mandible such forward growth that his bottom lip and bottom teeth now stick out ahead of his top lip and top set of teeth, giving him an underbite. But his chin still lacks forward protrusion. I need to dial back some of that lower jaw forward movement and give his chin forward protrusion also, for his chin to have forward prominence and his jawline to begin to look attractive. Obviously, as we now know, I need to give him an attractive Ramus to make him attractive. Then I kinda spurged out to make him chattier, whatever. The middleman is an example of a somewhat protrusive chin but recessed mandible, resulting in his chin lacking forward prominence. This man's chin is vertically short but not receding. The man on the left has a receding chin. The man in the middle has a somewhat protrusive chin, although short. Both men's mandibles are recessed, however. The mandible and the chin must work in tandem. A man's mandible must be long enough to give forward prominence to his chin, but the chin itself must also protrude to give the classic, well-developed, forward-grown masculine jaw. This man's face looks like it was built by architects. Everywhere you look, there is just optimal forward growth and bone. Notice how he has enough mandible length to position his chin forward, and his chin itself has protrusion, both of which make for a prominent chin. When your future 39-year-old wife who settled for you has her eyes shut during your intimacy with her, it's bone structure like this that she'll be seeing. To illustrate this point further, here is a man with forward chin projection but mandible recession. To give him a fuller lower third, more chin projection is not the answer. What he actually needs is more forward lower jaw growth, which I have simulated on the right. Note, this is a quick morph and I wasn't trying to make his lower third more masculine here. Before, we saw that a lower set gonian and longer ramus can provide more jaw body. This is an example of gaining a fuller lower third on the other side of the jaw. 6. Hyoid position. The hyoid bone is situated under the mandible in the neck area. The lower it hangs, the more buried your jawline appears, the more uncertain it is where your gonion is positioned, and so the less striking your jaw appears. The man on the left has the undimensionally combination of a receding chin and a low-hanging hyoid. There is no clear distinction between his jaw and his neck. The man in the middle has a prominent chin, but his jawline is still awful because of his low-hanging hyoid. It's important to note that the sagginess of the jawline can be affected by age, body fat, and diet. The young man on the right's hyoid is positioned right near his mandible, which allows his mandible's angle to be seen clearly and prevents him having to waste his life posting on involuntary celibate forums. And 7. Mandible width. It's a misconception that a jawline can only be appreciated from the side. The mandible should be as wide as the middle and upper thirds of the face to be considered fully developed. Each third is balanced. By the way, I've tried to account for the girl on the left's head being tilted downward in this analysis. A pointier, weaker, rounded, narrower lower jaw often gives women a delicate, softer, youthful, cute appearance, and a broader, stronger, squarer, wider jaw often gives women a more model-esque appearance. Not so with men. In aesthetics, it's hard for women to lose, and it's hard for men to win. There are many flaws in the face of the man on the right, and many desirable traits in the face of the man on the left, but notice how narrow and rounded the jaw of the man on the right is. Notice how broad the jaw of the man on the left is. The left is more attractive to more women. The fuller, squarer jaw makes the skull look more robust, dominant, and healthy. It's fully over for the man on the right. Mother Nature being misandrist, chin breadth and height also matter. A man's chin should be broad and squarish. There should be a noticeable straighter delineation between the chin and the rest of the jaw. Notice how the chin width harmonizes with the width of the rest of the jaw. There is an aesthetic balance. A man's chin should be noticeably longer than his philtrum. An ideal philtrum length to chin height ratio is about 1:2. Notice how the quote, man, unquote, on the left has a 1:1 philtrum length to chin height ratio. Remember, it's important for men to be low body fat for their jawline to show. Because of estrogen, women store fat differently, so can be overweight but still have high jawline visibility. Nature decided that men must live on hard mode. See what attracts women too for more details.
So a good-looking guy, if you know that you're a good-looking guy, you could probably get away with saying, hey, I saw you over there. I thought you were cute, so I just had to come over and say hi. What's going on? Right? You could do that if you're a good-looking guy. If you're not a good-looking guy or objectively good-looking, then it's probably better to say something like, hey, I saw you over there, and I just wanted to meet you. Can I meet you real quick? Just something like that. So you're not commenting on the looks.
You know what you get then? You know what you get then? You get women being polite. You get the 10-minute conversation to nowhere, and then you're like, it makes it awkward for her to reject you. So then she gives you her number, and then she flakes on you. I've had that.
Well, okay. So again, all of this is just, some of that is going to happen, but once you've.
Don't you know that I will stand up for you no matter what you're going through? I'm still on your side.
Height is a dimorphic trait, meaning men tend to be at one end of the scale and women at the other. Men at the taller end, women at the shorter end. There are hardly any women who don't want to feel smaller and more feminine compared to their lover. A woman wants a man to tower over her, to dominate her, and to feel that he can protect her. As women's options skyrocket thanks to social media and increased desperation in men, women are becoming pickier about a potential suitor's height like never before. Studies such as this one, attractiveness and height, don't reflect the brutal reality for men and extreme hypergamy among women in today's dating market. Here, it says men showed a preference for shorter women and dated them more frequently. But this doesn't mean that taller women get no dates. From observable reality, the height at which a woman becomes too tall and thus less date-worthy to some men is in about the 99.9th percentile of female height, above about 183 centimeters or over 6 foot, meaning a woman pretty much has to be among the tallest on earth to get fewer dates than her shorter counterparts. And her fewer dates will usually be down to men not being tall enough for her, rather than her being too tall for most men. Women showed a preference for dating men taller than themselves, and reported dating taller men more frequently. From observable reality, the height at which a man becomes too short to be date-worthy to the overwhelming majority of women is in about the 23rd percentile of male height, below about 167 centimeters or 5'6". So whereas a woman has to be taller than around 99% of other women for her to be less date-worthy to some men, a man only has to be shorter than around 77% of other men to be almost completely undate-worthy. This chart speaks of men with a height below 5'5" as having female height. Manlets blown the out. Whereas both men and women can be attractive or unattractive, physical attractiveness is not dimorphic, tall height is expected only in men. A good face is rarer, so more valuable than tall height. So a good face is more attractive than a good height. However, bear in mind the following caveats. 1. Height doesn't necessarily make you attractive, but it is a looks multiplier. A 4.5 out of 10 man at 5'6" could be a 6 out of 10 man at 6'4 plus. 2. Below a certain short height, even a good face won't be able to save you for the most part. If you look pathetic standing next to a woman because of the brutal height mogging, then increasingly fewer women today will find you date-worthy. It must be hard for this woman to see this person as a man. She could literally mug him if she wanted. Lucy Rosser says, I say, I don't think I can date someone shorter than me. My dad replies, you can't trust short men anyway. #preach it. Britton Darrow says, short guys are the absolute worst. Women feel perfectly fine insulting short men. Below 5'7" is where your height will be the overwhelming cause of your rejections. Below 5'5" is where most women won't even respect you as a man. Some encouragement you may hear is, well, as long as you're taller than a woman, you have a chance at attracting her. Black pill. As women become choosier, below about 5'6", it's not about you as a man being taller than a woman that you'd like to date. It's about being as tall as the other men she can choose from. A woman doesn't want to have the shortest, most bullyable boyfriend in her social circle. It suggests that she can't do any better and lowers her snuggling market value. As objective as looks are, there is some subjective wiggle room, and most women can't pinpoint every little thing that they like and don't like about a face. On the other hand, height is measurable in a far more objective way, and to talk about it doesn't require any knowledge of aesthetics. Height, as well as a man's manhood for the same reasons, is one of the few things that it's socially acceptable to shame men for and to be openly discriminatory about. In this experiment into the halo effect of height, random bypassers had to guess each of these men's profession. Notice the disrespect this one woman has when guessing 5'2" Melvin's job.
He's little. Maybe a cook. Like a cook.
She's laughing in his face. If he approached her romantically, she would feel insulted. Manlets often say that a tall man who dates a short woman is into kinder.
It's called Kinder Surprise.
This is largely down to sour grapes and coping because, if you're a manlet, you'll never tower over a woman and make her feel protected and small. This, you kinderluster, and save the short women for us, thinking places the agency on tall men for dating short women and not on short women for choosing tall men. Manlets would never accuse the rare tall woman who dates short men of kinderlusting. Coming up, we've seen what makes a good jaw, but how can you improve yours? What makes a good eye area? And on the next Looks Live, your calls on black pill-induced depression.